Hi guys, this is Siva. Welcome to the session on Git Interview Question and Answers. In this session, I'm going to explain most frequently asked Git interview questions. Let's go ahead and start. First one is, what is Git and its advantages? Git is an example for distributed version control system. And while working with the Git, it is easy for you to work with branching and merging because one single repository, Git repository, will have many branches, and context switch between the branches is very easy. And also feature based workflow. So whenever you work with the Git, always you are going to create a separate branch based on the to develop a particular feature or to fix particular bug. Once that bug is fixed or feature is implemented, then that branch will be merged to the master branch. Master branch is always will have the production ready code. And also disposable experimentation is, if you want to do some experimentation, you can create a separate branch and where you can do some experimentation. After that you can delete so that nobody can track these branches, because whatever the operations you are going to do, those are doing at the locally. And Git is very simple and fast because all the operations like adding the files and committing the files you are doing locally. And it will maintain the data consistency because Git uses the cryptographic integrity using the H1 encrypted algorithm, which is going to create a checksum, which is going to maintain the integrity of your committed files or the committed code. And also the another important feature of the Git is staging area. This is an intermediate area where commits can be formatted and reviewed before completing the commit to the local repository. And also Git is an free and open source. Second question is, what is difference between SVN and Git? The SVN is an example for the centralized version control system. That means in a central repository server, all your code will be placed, and then whenever a developer want to work on that particular project, he is going to check out those files to his locally and then perform the operations. The biggest disadvantage of the centralized version control system is, if the central repository server goes down, then developer cannot check out those files, and also they cannot check in or they cannot commit those files to the central repository server because central server goes down. Similarly, for example, central repository server DB or the server crashed, then in order to retrieve or backup the particular data, it is very tedious and it is time consuming process. So until that backup files has to come, then all the developer has to wait. But it is not case with the Git. Git is an example for the distributed version control system. In the case of Git, what happens is, whenever you clone a Git repository from the central to local, the complete code from the central to local it will come. So that means your local now itself it acts as a central repository server. If central repository server even goes down or there is no internet connection also, still developers can do their development because all the Git operations do perform locally. Even central server goes down or the crashes, then one of the developer local copy can be replaced on the server, because which is nothing but the clone what we have taken from the central server. And also it is going to support the non-linear development, and local repo is clone of the central repository, and no need of internet connection to commit the files, because all the operations whatever you are doing in the Git, those are doing in the locally, and whenever you want to push your local changes to the central, only at that time actually internet connection is required. And also branching and merging are the one of the strong features of Git, where you can easily switch between the branches and you can merge the code from one branch to the another branch. Now next question is, what is Git workflow? So now let us look at the high level how exactly Git flow works. So let us consider here we have the Git server repository. This is the remote server, and then we are going to use the clone command to uh, clone your central repository server code to your local, that we call as a working copy. Once you have the working copy, you can do your enhancement or the bug fixing, And those files, in order to add it to the staging area, we are going to use the git add command. Once you add to the staging area, and these are the files which will be available as part of the next commit. So we use the git command to commit your staging area files to the local Git repository. Once you have done with all the testing and everything, if you fine with the changes, then finally you are going to push those changes to the Git repository. Now, any other developer who is working on this project, they have to pull these changes and then they can start work on that. This is the high level overview of the how Git workflow works. Now, if I talk about a step-by-step process, first one, create a repository for a project with a Git hosting tool like a GitHub. Now, here Git remote server is nothing but your company centralized server. Now, first they have to start a repository for your project, and then that project you need to clone it to your local. So clone the repository to your local machine using the git clone command. Once you have cloned to your local, that is called as a working copy. If you see here, right, this is called as a working copy. Now on the working copy, you can add some files, modify the files, whatever the development you want to do, you can do. So those files needs to be add those file to your local repo and commit those changes using the git add is going to commit the basically add the files to the staging area, and git commit is basically committing to your local repository, and then you are going to push your changes to the master branch, that is nothing but into your central repository server. And again, for example, if you want to make some changes in the central repository server, then you are going to pull those changes to your local machine, and then you are going to create a branch or want to make some changes, you can do it, and then open a pull request. Pull request is nothing but, for example, you have a master branch and you created with the another branch where you are trying to bug fixing it. Once you done the changes, you need to raise a pull request, which is nothing but from your uh, feature branch or the where you are fixing the branch, that code has to go for the master branch. So your technical lead or the architect will review and they will accept the pull request, so that those changes will be gone to the remote repository server. So this is the general workflow how exactly it is going to work out. So pull request is nothing but merge your branch into the master branch. So git merge is the command we generally use it. Okay, so this is how high level how it is going to work out. Now let us see quickly. First central repository server, and then you are going to clone, that is a working copy. We are going to add those files within git add, that will be staging area, and then local git repository you are going to commit. Finally you are going to commit to the central repository server. And then next command is, what is the clone command? So clone command is basically cloning a repository into your directory. So you have the central server, and from there you are first time you are working on the project. So you use the clone command to clone central repository server to your local or working copy, to your local workspace. For that purpose, we use the git clone. So in order to use the git clone and tell that what is the remote repository URL and then local directory name. If you don't give any directory name, then whatever the name it is appear in the URL, that will be taken care. For example, a repository might have a many branches. If you want to if you want to clone a particular branch, then you need to use the git clone -b and then say what is the branch name, and then GitHub URL, and then local repository, or you can say local directory name. If you don't give the directory name, again it is going to take from the default as a directory name as a default GitHub URL name here. And then the next question is, what is the difference between the clone and pull? So clone is basically one-time activity. So whenever you have created a separate, you have created a project in your central repository server or remote repository server, that you want to clone to only one time activity so that it will act as a working copy for you. But after that, if any changes are performed on this remote repository server, some other developers already pushed some changes to the remote repository. Then you want to get those type of changes to your local, then you are going to use the pull. So git clone is used to get a local copy of an existing remote repository to work on. It is usually used only once for the given repository unless you want to have a multiple working copies of around it. Second one is git pull. Git pull is basically it is going to fetch the whatever the latest changes committed on the remote repository server, and that will be merged to your local code. So git pull is nothing but git fetch plus git merge. Is you update that local copy with the new commits from the remote repository server. So if other developers is already committed some code, then you want those changes to be part of your local workspace. Then you use the git pull command. And then what is the purpose of the checkout? Checkout basically will have two purposes. One is you can switch between the branches. Git checkout, if you give the branch name, then it is going to switch from the one branch to another branch. And second one is to restore the working tree files. Now, for example, here I have given a couple of commands. If you see here, git checkout my branch. That means currently let us consider I am in the master branch. Now I want to check out, switch to the different branch. Then you can use the git checkout, then my branch, then automatically git will switch your branch name to the master. Sorry, my branch. And then git checkout dot. What it is going to do, whatever the changes you have done your locally, that is going to be vanished. That means it is going to remove all your local changes what you have performed. That is the reason it is a dangerous command. Before you issue this command, make sure that your local changes needs to be taken backup. Otherwise, it is going to override with the or it is going to restore the tree files from the remote repository to your local repo. And also, if you want to remove the specific commit or if you want to restore the particular commit ID for that given file, then you can use checkout, that is git checkout, commit ID and the file name. Then what happens is Git is going to restore the file with that particular commit ID version from the remote repository to the local repo. That is the purpose of the checkout. Now, the next question is what is stash command and why we use it? Now, let us consider stash is one of the important command available in the Git because now let us consider you are working on a one of the feature and all of a sudden some production issue came. Now, in order to troubleshoot that issue, you need to take the base version what is the latest code available in the production, not the whatever the changes currently you are doing on that particular branch, but they whatever the changes you are doing, those are make sense to fix particular issue. But currently, in order to fix the production issue, these code changes are not required. In that case, the git stash command is going to help you. What git stash command is going to do is stash the changes in a dirty working directory away. That means whatever the changes currently you do for the current feature or the bug fixing, that will be placed to the separate place, and it will be restore the exact head commit or the latest changes whatever it is available in the branch. That means basically, for example, next release you have taken the copy and you are modifying it. Then whenever you say git stash, whatever the changes you currently doing, those will be removed and it will be placed in the some other area. And now your branch will have the next release code or the master branch code, so that you can work on the production fix and you can give again later if you want to refer these changes, you can again use whatever the temporary place where you have stored it, you can retrieve back them. So git stash or the push, this command saves your local modification away and reverts the working directory to match with the head commit. Now, if you see Git Stash show, it is going to show you list the modifications stashed away. So currently you might have modified the 10 files. So if you say Git Stash show, then those 10 files will be shown. And Git Stash apply, then whatever the modification has placed in the another stash area, those will be applied to your current branch so that you can again continue with your current enhancement or the bug fixing. The next question is, what is merge command? Merge command is one of the important and easiest command which is available for the developer to merge the two different branches. So now let us consider how Git works is, whenever you create a one branch, or if you want to work on a particular feature or the bug fixing, you always recommend it to use separate branch. That means you need to create a branch from the master and then you start developing it. Once you develop, you merge this feature or the bug fixing branch to the master branch. That is how it is going to work out. So if you want to do manually, you need to compare the files and merge all these things is a tedious process. That is the reason Git comes with the command called a merge. So now let us consider, I have created a something called as a, here I given an example also. Now let us consider a branch. Bug fix is a created from the master branch. Now you have done some code fixing in the bug fix branch. Now you need to merge the bug fix branch into the master branch. So in order to do that, what you need to do is git merge. You need to navigate to the master branch and then git merge bug fix. Then this command is going to merge the code changes done in the bug fix branch into the master branch. So now you no need to go and merge these changes manually because Git automatically taken care of merging these branches. And next one is, what is the difference between the branch versus tagging? So branch is nothing but is a symbolic names for the line of development. So new commits are created on top of the branch and the branch pointer naturally advances and point to the newer and newer commits. So as I explained earlier, in order to start your development or the enhancement, you always create a branches and always you can allow to commit those files and it is free to commit and commit more and more on the particular branch. So branch is nothing but you can consider like if you want to develop a enhancement or the bug fixing, you go with the branch and it is always allowed to modify or the easy to commit or allowed to commit. But tag is something whenever these are like a symbolic names for a given version. So they always point to the same object. They do not change. Now let us consider in a practical way. Whenever you are releasing a particular software to the production, then if you want to refer in future, you need the particular version of it. That is the reason generally recommended that whenever you are using the Git and you do a production release, tag that Git version. You can tag that particular code with the one tag in the Git so that the tag will be represent as a your release for your production. Later, some point of time, if someone says that there is a problem with this particular code, then you can refer this tag and tag is anyhow, once you create a tag, nobody cannot change it. So that you can refer as a code base line. So from that you can go and take a code base and you can start debugging it. Okay, so tag is nothing but releasing tagging is nothing but you are giving an release version for the production release. And the next one is, what is staging area? One of the important feature of the Git when compared to the other source control management tool is stage stage area. Stage area is basically holds the files which will be part of the next commit. Now you created a one branch and you start modifying the files. Now you are periodically you are trying to verify like a few files you are going to add to the staging area. then you can review that. Okay, these whatever the committed files added, sorry, whatever the files which are added to the staging area are really having the production fix or not. That means this is going to fix or not. Otherwise, you can again modify the files and you can add it. Before actually you are adding these files to the local repository, it is kind of a intermediate area where you can check these files, review, and then if requires, you can do the modifications. Okay, so the main advantage of the staging area is this will help the developer to keep track of those files which will be part of the next commit. Hope so far you are clear, and I'm going to explain the remaining questions in the next session. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.